3 o'clock. We'll call this Planning Commission meeting for February 3rd to order. I need a approval of the agenda. There's been no change. Can I get a motion for the agenda?
So move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes, has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? I don't have any changes to the minutes. Can I get a motion for approval of the minutes?
So move. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to public hearings. The first item on the agenda is Mel First Edition. It's a zoning change from MR3 to LC with a conditional overlay. Chelsea.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chelsea Leverson with the Planning Department. Agenda item 1 is a request for a zone change on a portion of Lot 1, Block 2, Mel First Edition. The subject property is located at 2506 35th Avenue South. It is on the corner of 35th Avenue South and 25th Street South. Here are a couple photos of the site. The top picture was taken from 35th Avenue. It is facing southeast. The bottom picture was taken from 25th Street, facing northwest. There is an existing structure on the property. It is currently vacant, but was previously used as a school, and prior to that, it was an office building. The property is currently zoned MR3, multi-dwelling residential. Adjacent zoning includes limited commercial to the south, multi-dwelling residential to the west, and a church zoned public and institutional to the north. The applicant is requesting a zone change from MR3, multi-dwelling residential, to LC, limited commercial with a conditional overlay. The applicant plans to use the property as a daycare center, which would be permitted by right in limited commercial zoning. So on your screen is the draft conditional overlay. It is similar to other overlays you've seen in South Fargo, requiring higher design standards and prohibiting some land uses. We wanted to avoid creating any potential zoning violations on the existing structure, so some of the overlay requirements only apply to new development. We did receive one inquiry about the zone change, but the caller had no concerns. Staff's recommendation is for approval, as stated in the staff report and shown on your screen. The applicant's representatives and the daycare owners, Brooke Salisbury and Bobby Horsager, are here today if you do have questions for them. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Any questions for Chelsea? Nope. Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak about this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the commission?
I'll move approval as submitted.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Gly,
Aye.
Betlock,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Tassa, Tassa. Aye. Mose.
Aye.
Okay, motion approved. We'll go to agenda item number 2, Christensen's 32nd Avenue South, 3rd edition. A replat of Lot 4, Block 1 of Christensen 32nd Avenue, 2nd edition. Luke.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Luke Mormon with the Planning Department. Item 2 on your agenda, as you stated, Christensen 32nd Avenue South, 3rd edition. This is located at 3102 36th Street South. If you follow my cursor on the screen, I have I-29 Interstate showing here to the west of the property. 36th Street South abuts the property. And then we also have 32nd Avenue South, as well as 31st Avenue South and 34th Street, kind of kitty corner on the northwest or northeast corner of the property. The applicant is requesting a minor subdivision entitled Christensen, 32nd Avenue South, 3rd Edition, replat of lots 4, Block 1, Christensen 32nd Avenue South, 2nd Edition. For some site photos, on the top we are taking from the intersection of the private drive, which is a ingress, egress, and utility easement, and 32nd Street, which is kind of running along the left-hand side of the photo, and we're facing north. On the bottom, we are facing east from 36th Street South. You can see the commercial development as well as the apartments behind the vacant lot. On the top, we are a little further north along 36th Street, again facing east. And then on the bottom, we are on the north side of the subject property from 31st Avenue South, facing west. You can see the existing stormwater pond there. The zoning is GC General Commercial with a CO conditional overlay. No zone changes proposed, and the CO will carry through with the proposed subdivision. Looking at the plat, this is replatting one existing lot into a 2-lot subdivision. The overall boundaries aren't changed, but in the middle, there's a couple changes to the utilities, or the easements. There's two kind of adjacent easements. One is being vacated since there's no utilities, and then the other electric easement is intended to be rerouted. So the applicant is coordinating with a utility provider on that one. Applicant's also coordinating with staff to update the existing stormwater easement and amenities plan. So up here is kind of where the stormwater pond and easement is located on the northeast portion of the property. Staff has received no inquiries in response to this project. We find all criteria to be met and are recommending approval. The project representative, Chris Mack, is present to answer any questions as well. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Any questions for Luke? Okay, thanks, Luke. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would wish to speak on this agenda item? Okay, we'll close the hearing on agenda item number 2. Any other discussion from the commission, or do you have a motion?
I'll motion to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Betlock,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Mose,
Aye.
Gly,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Tassa, Rosenberg.
Aye. Motion carries. Now we have item D, talking about the introduction of Lost Creek First Edition subdivision zone change. And we'll call on Nicole for this one. Wow, aren't we special today? Go ahead.
I'm not sure it's that special, but yeah, thanks for having us today. We thought this would be a good opportunity for you all and the public to hear from the applicants and staff as we process a fairly large request for proposal. This is really the first time that we're applying our growth plan since it's been adopted in '24 to greenfield development that's not currently within the city limits, and that we're exploring annexation and extension of utilities. So we thought it would be a good idea to conceptually present this to you so that first you see what we're working on, open it up for planning commission discussion, again, especially as we're processing new policies, as well as listen to and hear from the applicant, who can also be here for Q&A as well. So what we have in front of us is basically 2 miles west of the interstate and south of 52nd Avenue, between 64th and 76th Avenue. We have a proposal for residential and commercial development. And what I'm going to do is walk through a little bit of what we've been considering as part of this review. While this is new for today's conversation, I would say it's probably been over the course of the the last several years, between engineering's infrastructure design with the Southwest Pond and stormwater management, we've been looking at these four quadrants in a master plan kind of way. And so I want to walk through how we apply the master plan in a direct application type of way. So just a recap of the growth plan as it was adopted, we are in what we're calling Growth Grid A and Subgrid 4. And the subject property we're talking about is in this western south quarter of that. And the premise of the growth grid in the growth plan reference is really to help guide infrastructure development and applications as we process these, so we can think about the timing of these infrastructure and its relationship. So as a reminder, the growth plan recommends our preferred growth scenario is really only 66% of our future growth to be in greenfield area and the remaining to be in infill or redevelopment areas. The other element that is being provided here in this map and in the document is the place type guidance. And so while you see the colors orange and red and green and purple, you might, if you're used to a traditional zoning map, you might see those colors as single-family residential or multifamily residential, but that's not what they imply. Instead, what they apply is place types. So place type, the urban neighborhood is the orange, and the red is mixed commercial, and then the green is open space or parks and conservation land. One other thing is the circles, I forgot to mention those, is really also the growth plan is guiding from a linear approach. So typically we plan our infrastructure and development along the arterials, and as we build infrastructure in a linear way, which makes sense, that's how utilities are laid. But we're really looking at where are those community centers and how are we amassing capital to increase density and work with each other to build that investment. So prior to the growth plan, we had our, as engineering started their Southwest Pond master planning effort about 5 years ago, we started doing a Southwest land use plan in relation to the infrastructure of investment. And so the green area here is really the Southwest master plan, or Southwest stormwater management, along with coulees or drains that would be connecting into this. And this really is one of the first times the city took such a large mass of area to develop a master plan for infrastructure. And Nathan in engineering can talk at length about the cost benefits of doing this in a master plan approach as opposed to a lot by lot approach. And working with landowners throughout this entire 4-mile area, we are working at reducing financial impacts and looking at, again, amassing stormwater and flood control management. The area subject property we're talking about today is this western half of this southern quarter. The land area that's surrounding this area is this area to the east. Some of the land uses that we were looking at back then, even then, was kind of a mixed use urban area. So this light gray and dark green, that property is owned by Sanford right now. We are already planning on that for like a town center type of approach. And so we've been working with landowners in this area for quite some time as we've been developing this area. As we look about what's feasible in the area, we're really looking at our transportation network and starting to lay over, if you will, parameters. So obviously our arterials run on the mile or section line, and then the connectivity with the open space and water, and then the residential categories. So even at that time, 5 years ago, we were looking at higher density of that brown color, the mixed residential density in that orange color, and that light yellow would be your more standard single family. So even back then, and in fact, when we applied for the state loans for the stormwater master plan, we had to kind of prove up the density need and the geography need as part of that grant application. So fast forward to today and the application of the growth grid, we prepared this drawing in-house where we took the stormwater management plan, so the red boundary is the geography of the stormwater master plan. And then these 4 sections in the yellow, that's the Covey Ranch area that you looked at last month and are looking at, continuing to look at. And then, the Walmart's up here, the pond's over here. This tract of land, kind of over here is being what we call the former Hector land. I believe it's under title through Christensen and Companies. I'm not entirely sure the land ownership there. But then the Sanford area, and then to the south here. So really what you can kind of see in this light or this blue dash area, you can think of that as a swath of undeveloped land. We have some light master plans, but we don't have an owner coming to us and master planning those blocks. So really the question as we explore this application that we've been talking about in-house with our finance and engineering team is that access to new infrastructure and that proximity to infrastructure. Is it worth, basically, to the heart of the question, is it worth extending the infrastructure from the Covey Ranch area, skipping that half mile to get to the western mile? And at the staff level, we're saying yes. We want to get those single-family lots are worth bringing online and going ahead and planning, because when you start to think of the design and construction of infrastructure, it takes 1 to 2 years to design it, plan for it, finance it, get the contractor on board and build it. And so the developer and the city staff are already 2 to 3 years ahead as we look to bringing, quote, property online for development. Other things that we're looking at is that we'll be exploring as part of the annexation is the cost of services, emergency management, public works maintenance, the percent of completeness. So we are recognizing there's, kind of large chunks of land that are undeveloped, quote unquote. So this swath I just pointed to in the area just south of the Pines, right now those developers are pretty much farming that land right now, but they're in a holding pattern. So that brings us to the actual application, and John and his team can talk about this, but really the components that are in front of the applicant, and as we layer the land development code, the transportation plan, and other standards and requirements of our municipal code, the bullet points on the list are what we're asking the developer to meet. So for instance, the vehicular access control along the arterials, along Veterans and 64th Avenue, those are tied and limited to certain spacing. The alignment of the drains and the trail system, those are tied to existing infrastructure design. The roadway network and the connectivity of collector, normally we would get a collector at the quadrant, if you will, at the quarter, but given the drains, we have constraints there. So we had to realign a bit to figure out what is that connectivity pattern going to be as this comes through and connects to the Covey Ranch area, and as this comes through and connects north-south. Lastly, the phasing, so construction phasing and timing of infrastructure is going to be important to learn along the way. And then one thing that's kind of new that the growth plan will be looking at more specifically is that vision keeping of both the approval authority, that would be us, but the owner themselves. So speculation versus vision keeping. And that's a little bit of that financial management in order to, you see it all the time, the constant replats, the constant rezonings of parcels in response to the market. By having a little bit more oversight with these other parameters, it's to be more incongruent with the market and needs, but for a longer value over time. And so real quick, and I'll turn it over to John, but when we apply, this is just a bunch of excerpts from the growth plan, but really we're looking at 3 different questions. First of all, is the application correct in the place type? And so John very specifically looked at the proposal and growth grid, looked at the yellow and the suburban neighborhood and the urban neighborhood, allocated that accordingly to the map. And so that's pretty much in line. And then when we look at the red, that's also in line with what the growth plan is recommending for land use. It's important to remember the yellow, again, is not SR3 or SR4, but instead is representing a place type. So if you jump over to here, we're looking at the transects. Transects, this grid is in T4, meaning all these different zoning districts would be allowed by right in T4, and it's really more about the composition and makeup of how those lots go together and how those land uses go together. What the growth plan has is example prototypes. So if this were to go on into advanced master planning, what the developer would be doing is working with the planning staff and the engineering staff and other departments on what does that lot layout look like, how does that connectivity of green space, some lots are for multifamily, some lots are for single family or attached housing. That exact matrix and how that lays out would come to you as a plat proposal. And so that's right at the stage we're at now. We're starting to see some schematic plats. We don't have a plat yet, but we'll be looking at that in the near future. And then lastly, what the growth plan has is basically a composition mix. And so if I go all the way back to this growth grid, this is that composition mix of land use types in growth grid 4. So you got a little bit of red, a little bit of, a lot of orange, and John can probably take it from there.
Anybody have any questions for Nicole? Nicole, on the grid system on 1 and 2, how much infrastructure, water, sewer, how much is there already?
I'd say quite a bit. I think maybe I would talk to Nathan a little bit to talk about if we're ready for infrastructure.
Yeah, so in terms of the infrastructure available within the subgrids 1 and 2, we'd be able to serve any of those areas today. Infrastructure is along 45th Street and available to extend into those areas.
So we're not really jumping into a bunch of vacant land, we're really just extending it down to
Correct.
4?
Yep, with the master planning we've done and the construction that's been ongoing on the Southwest Metro Pond, that's anticipated to be completed this summer. So then stormwater will be handled for all of the Supergrid A. The sanitary sewer is all the way down to the intersection of 45th Street and 64th Avenue. So those grids 1 and 2 of these will be able to be served, and then water's through there as well. So for subgrid 4 here, we would have to extend the sewer and water over there, but as Nicole mentioned, it's approximately about a half a mile, and it seems reasonable for this type of development.
And is Covey Ranch covered pretty much then too, and is that in 3, Nicole?
Yeah, Covey Ranch is in 3, and right now it's being designed through engineering. It hasn't been finalized through the final plat process, but engineering has that in their schedule.
Okay. Any other questions for Nicole? Okay, John, it's your show. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Commissioners, John Eunice, Eagle Ridge. Nicole did a great job of explaining where we're at. Want to kind of take a step back and maybe ask the question, why here, why now? The city's made significant investments in the area between Lake Fargo, all the stormwater infrastructure that's being installed, the utility extensions that have already happened. It makes this location specifically prime for new growth opportunities. Nicole briefly touched on this also. It's a timing thing. We are wrapping up on the east side of the interstate with our final phase of residential, and once all those lots are delivered, without this development, there's very limited opportunities for new single-family growth in the area. We understand that it takes time from when we start the planning process and the entitlement process till the time we actually deliver lots, and we want to make sure that we're ahead of the game so that opening this area up, we're not waiting on getting these approvals last minute. We can work our way through it right now. It's rare that you get an opportunity to master plan a half section. Really appreciate the time and effort that the city staff has taken and effort that we put in coming up with a concept that we feel really good about. In addition to working with city staff, we've been working with the Park District. We're really trying to integrate the overall trail system into the overall master plan that the city and Park District has in the area. That's why you see on our master plan we've got a large central park area that's connected with trail systems. So you're going to be able to go from Veterans Boulevard over to the channel and pond system, and all the way from 64th Avenue to 76th with very limited interruptions from a street crossing. And that's one of the things we take pride in our developments, is trying to create a nice trail system for people to utilize. The other thing is, the way we kind of, if you take a step back and look at it from a 10,000-foot view, we had to look at where is the park system going, where are the trails going, how does this fit in with the newly adopted growth plan? And really, the growth plan did a lot of the heavy lifting for us on this one. You'll notice there's a significant amount of similarities in our land use locations is what the growth plan actually had. We also understand that there's a significant cost and infrastructure that goes into these, and we want to make sure as we do this master plan and lay these neighborhood out, that we're getting the best bang for the buck in terms of the infrastructure, while still being able to add a little bit of character and creating some pocketed neighborhoods in there. So we feel like we've done a good job. The city's made about $90 million worth of investments in growth in this part of Fargo, and we look at this as an opportunity to really turn those investments into something tangible and real. When this property is fully developed out, we understand it's going to take some time as we kind of work our way from north to south, but you're looking at over 1,600 homes that are going to be in here and over 6,000 residents in Fargo, and we don't take that lightly. But again, we feel like we've done a good job managing both the growth plan, working with city staff, and coming up with something that I know we're proud of, and looking forward to bringing a plat and zoning in front of you guys here in the next month. So with that, I'll open it up if you guys have any questions.
John, so the issue now is how much of this property has to come into the city?
There's a portion that's already in. The southern half, I believe, would need to be annexed, but a good chunk of the property already is in the city.
And then what's your phase plan? Are you looking at just bringing in the first section where down to whatever it is, 68th Avenue? Is that?
Yeah, so our first plat would include the area that you can kind of see a little more detail on the lots. The rest of it we would basically leave unplatted. We would come in and plat the majority of that park as well. Maybe not the east-west trail connection, leaving ourselves a little bit of flexibility as we work our way through these different phases. But I'll say that the north quarter of the property would be platted and zoned at this time.
But you're planning on bringing in the whole parcel into the city now?
Yeah, I'd have to look and see what parcels are actually currently sit outside the city, but I believe for sure the entire platted area would be brought within the city.
Okay. Is there any questions for John from the commission?
I'm just curious, the northern portion where you show the lots in some detail, how wide are the lots?
They vary in width between 50 and 75 feet wide. So it's not, currently we're not planning on having a bunch of 35 or 40 foot wide lots in there.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe I'll bring up a couple things at the staff level. So maybe just real quick. So this is still pretty conceptual at this stage. And from here, what continues to happen before you actually see the plat is a lot of design discussion between staff, elements related to what if a developer's agreement is needed, or if amenities plan details are needed. As we look at all of the, kind of fixed points, we'll probably need to bring back to you conversations about regulations that maybe conflict with each other, or prioritization of preferences. So for instance, a growth plan calls for green buffering areas, kind of increased green space. How does that get maintained? Who takes care of that? How does those expectations get set forth as we work through those details? Staff's working on those things like accessory buildings, conditional overlays, elements related to quality of the development or type of development. Those details will need to be worked out. The other thing we're talking about with not only Eagle Ridge, but other applications as they come forward now that the growth plan's been adopted and before the LDC is adopted, is really to the point of the degree of speculation. So as you see the red corners, one of the things we've been playing with, especially on larger tracts, is leaving those unzoned and unplatted until the time of a development application actually makes sense. And so that we can work through the levels of design detail or parameters related to the future LDC. That's somewhat questionable of, what the right approach is for there, but it's the idea that we're all talking about the same thing. What tended to happen, we don't maybe have this quite as much, but when you're in a fast growth area, I mean, Selkirk is kind of an example of that. Selkirk 1 is, the previous developer had a vision. We go and build the infrastructure, and guess what? All of that infrastructure has to be redone to some degree. And so that's just a lot of wasted cost based on chasing a market that maybe isn't there. And so how do you tie that in together? We'll have a lot more opportunities to talk about those components with CZB team as we do the LDC, but just those are the kinds of things we've been thinking about.
Anybody else have any other questions for John? Thank you, John.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm
Can I
sorry.
ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'll ask my 2 questions. John, I want to understand a little bit of what affordable housing is defined in this proposal, as I see one of the bullet points is affordable housing. And then with our recent housing study, can you tell me how you've looked at, documenting the needs of Fargo and kind of what type of housing we need? And are you kind of addressing any of those housing needs? Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. On the affordable housing component, I think that there's 2 facets when you talk about it. I like to talk about affordable housing as attainable and market rate driven, as opposed to maybe more subsidized type housing, which is its own unique style of housing. On this, by having a variety of lot sizes, by having a variety of use types, whether it's single family, townhome or multifamily, we're able to provide a wide range of housing options on this property. So I feel like we're addressing those components. And that the housing needs, I can tell you that there is absolutely a need for housing in the city of Fargo. We're seeing it with our Selkirk addition. And the reality is within 2 years, we're probably going to be completely sold out of residential lots in the city of Fargo. And so that's why we're wanting to come in front of you guys and get this process rolling, so that when infrastructure is ready for us, we're ready for it as well.
Miranda, anything else?
No, I just think we got to be careful when we say affordable housing of defining what affordable housing is, because many people think affordable housing is different. And so it's providing a lot of different ranges for housing, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's affordable housing. It's market rate housing, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for John? Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Nicole, since I have you and since I do this all the time, can we get an LDC update?
Sure. Yeah, we just got some schedule updates from them on Monday, and look forward to some communications from us in the near future. We will probably start to schedule some next round of focus group meetings, and some of these might be virtual in nature, and just to kind of tune you up for that. And then we'll be scheduling our next Code Connect in the near future. We're coming to the point where all the components are coming together in a draft, if you will. And so the next Code Connect will probably be an introduction to that draft and components with that draft, if you will. I think last I talked to Kim, we were going to send out some correspondence on the December Code Connect, where it did highlight, I think a few of you were on that call, but it did highlight kind of the components that are in the LDC. But things are coming together. I know it's been kind of quiet because there's a lot of drafting going on, but the exciting part is soon to come, and we'll be having probably February, March, April, May, quite a bit of interaction related to either virtual or in-person visits.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.